I have insurance, and so I don't need to focus on anything else other than just my physical well-being, because a bike is completely replaceable. And the fact that you have insurance and that you're protected and you're covered, all you need to do is focus on yourself and getting yourself better. Like, I'm going to try and I'm going to take risks and I'm going to take chances, because why else? Why would you not, right? I'm Alicia Speak. I'm 37. I'm a full-time lawyer, but I'm also a cyclist for Cycle Team London.
The team. So first, welcome onto the stage one of the brightest young talents on the scene, all the way from Denmark. It's his first time in London, so get behind him. It is Soren Kragh Andersen. Thank you.
Hey.
Hi, mate.
Hey.
Welcome to London.
Thank you.
And welcome to the stage. And
thanks.
Yes, full team kit, of course.
Yeah, committed.
You enjoying London?
Yes, it's. I arrived today, but so far it's nice. I enjoy the whole scene here. Yeah.
Yeah, we were having a bit of a chat backstage about where he should go after this. I've suggested Soho, some nice old Victorian pubs. But away from Victorian pubs, let's talk about the present day, about the team that you're riding for, which, without a shadow of a doubt, is a team that does things differently in a certain way. And interestingly, it's one of the few teams that over the last few years, based on the way they nurture riders and kind of foster talent, is this very long-term contract that you've got as well. So just to explain what it's like being a part of Team Sunweb, you know, because you've had big successes over the last couple of years as well, you know, winning races like Paris Tour at a young age, you're only 25. So what's it like being a part of the Sunweb setup?
Yeah, that's a super professional team. It's super structured, and there's a plan, there's a goal, there's all the time a new idea, what to do, and there's a plan for each rider, even for the riders lower in the team, you know, and as for the big stars in the team. So yeah, they take good care of everyone, and that's also why I think they create so many talents. Yeah.
Because everybody's under one roof, and I think that's the thing to explain. You know, it's not just a World Tour team that has a women's team, that has an under-23 team. You know, all of your team photos are everybody. You're treated as Team Sunweb, regardless if you're under 23, a woman, or you're riding on the World Tour. And that's quite special, isn't it? And I think personally, I think it's something that more teams should aspire to do as well.
Yeah, we are all equal in the team, and that's the special thing about the team. I also went there when I was young and neo-professional. I signed with the team because I had the feeling here everyone is equal, and they really treat you. Yeah, if I was Dumoulin or a little Soren, when I came to the team, it didn't matter, you know. They treat everyone the same.
So what does make it so special then? Because that's a lot of trust, isn't it? To sign, I think if I'm correct, 2021 you've signed through to, or maybe 2022.
Even longer.
The 2022, yeah, which is, you know, in this day and age is exceptionally long. So why have you, you know, what's made you come to that decision? Like, yeah, this is where I want to be for the foreseeable future, and arguably going into the peak of your career, that at 27, 28, you'll be, or 27 years of age, you'll be still there.
Yeah, that's true. It was also a very big decision, because it is my end of the contract when I'm 28 and a half. So it's just, in the middle of my...
That's a big face. Sorry, blimey.
Oh, yeah. But I decided it because it's a good match for me. They show trust in me, and it needs to go slowly for me. I had, like you said, 3 really good years. This year was not as good, but I think also a smack in your face makes me stronger.
Sure.
I will try to show that the next years, but they show trust, and that's why I continue, and I signed a long contract.
Yeah, you had a great year last year. You started off pretty strongly this year, the Vuelta Algarve. You're second overall in Algarve, and then it was a steadier affair. I mean, what actually happened? What problems did you face this year?
Yeah, like you say, Algarve, I was maybe the best ever. I was climbing good, and I finished second overall. But then I became really sick on my way home from Algarve, and I was 1 week with fever and laying in the bed. And then since then, the whole season was a bit up and down. Injuries, sickness again, trying to come back, getting sick again. So just a year where it didn't work out for me, and now I'm trying to reset in my off season, and then hopefully I come back stronger, like I said, next year. Yeah.
And I think that's when you really know that you can thrive within the team, is that they look after you during the kind of periods where it's quite difficult. When you've got success, it's very easy. Yeah. But when you're struggling physically, and more important mentally, because of your physical position, that's when the strength of a team is vitally important, isn't it?
Totally correct. That's also why right now I feel I'm the right place. Because now it's hard. It's hard mentally when you get kicked your ass and it doesn't work out. It is really hard.
Right.
But they are there and they don't stamp on me laying down. You know, they take care of me and they don't stress with things. They all the time stay calm around me and keep believing in me. So, yeah, I'm really happy I'm in Team Sunweb. Yeah.
And as you look forward, so you're going to be in the team when you're 28 years of age, arguably at around your prime. What kind of rider do you see yourself as? Because you're an exceptional time trialist, we know that. Looking at you, you climb well, you're a rouleur, but you know, are you thinking of the Grand Tours or are you thinking more of the classics? Do you know yet, or?
I don't know yet, but I think I need to make a decision soon.
Yeah.
It was first time this year also Nicolas Roach, a new guy in our team, super nice guy. He also came to me, he said, do you even know what you want to do? I said, no, not
you
really.
Felt you tick a lot of boxes.
Are you good at that? I'm good at that. I try a bit everything. And he said, no, you need to focus a bit more one way. And that also I started thinking afterwards. And now I give it a shot with my time trial, also with the Grand Depart in Denmark in 2 years, with a prologue in Copenhagen. I have a dream about that. And I think I want to go for the classics and shorter time trials, yeah.
I mean, keep challenging is the hashtag that's driven by the team, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, just describe to anybody who's kind of interested in what the ethos of the team is about. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, but it's never good enough. Huh? We all the time try to be better with our partners, sponsors, riders. They all the time keep challenging each one, and it's okay to be critical as long as we can discuss things and we get something out of it and we make each other stronger. So that's the whole identity of the team. You can say good and bad things, as long as you can talk about it.
Right, and again, there's not only just the collaborative approach, which we'll talk about a little bit later, between like Cervelo, for example, Kragh, looking at the scientific side of the sport, but the holistic side as well, because you have this quite unique team base. We know that teams like for example, Mitchelton Scott have the AIS Institute of Sport, which the team go to. Of course, Ineos have their own base. But there's something quite unique at Sunweb. Just talk to us a little bit about that, because I find that absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, we have also team houses in south of Holland where they base all the women riders and the development riders, and they create some kind of family. There's a guy taking care of them with training, and there's a guy cooking, and I think they try to build really like a family culture. They really try to take care of the young talents and give them this keep challenging philosophy, you know, that they think like this, and they grow into the team.
So clearly, that's the thing, you know, in combination with the long-term contract to give riders, the fact they've got this permanent base that I'd imagine costs a lot of money. There's a big investment there. It's almost like you're creating a new business model of sustainability.
That's the whole idea of Ivan. He wants to have a long-term team. Yeah. And I think that's what he's trying to create, a base now that, he can make a long-term team as he did already now for a long time. Yeah.
And who's the rider that you look up to in the team the most? Obviously, sadly, Tom Dumoulin is going to be departing. He's going to leave a big hole. We all know that. We can't deny that. No. But Nico Roach has come into the team. He's got an extension. He will arguably be the most senior rider in terms of years. Yeah. But who's the rider that you kind of admire, that you get on with the most, that you aspire to be?
I think the new guy, Tish Pinot.
Oh yeah, Tish,
he's a nice rider, and I admire his way of riding. He's attacking. He's not scared of going in the front and trying something. So I think that's good for me and for the whole team, that we try something new. You know, with Tom, you just have to stick with him as long as you can and protect him and all this. It was nice because he really could win Tour de France. He still can. But now we have to switch a little bit, I think, and try to attack the races we start in. Yeah.
So again, it's a continuation. Keep challenging. Whatever happens in terms of the permutation of the team, it's just refocusing, coming together, and kind of getting new goals, I guess. Yeah,
that's Sunweb. They don't panic. They don't stress. They stay calm. They continue, and they will success somewhere. That's for sure. Yeah.
And what about the technical side of things then? Of course, as we know, getting the right access, exposure to the right kind of training, but also the equipment side of it. We know how important, especially somebody like yourself, who is is an exceptional time trialist, you have to have the right equipment. You know, and Cervelo, I know are one of the best bike brands in terms of from that side of things, craft as well. So how much involvement do they really have? Because it's easy to say, isn't it, on a website, we do all this together, we've got this collaborative approach. But from your experience, what is it like being immersed in it and having access to all of that stuff?
Yeah, that's interesting, because this year it was maybe the first year for me where I really felt how much input you can give to the equipment. In the past I was more the young guy, and I think Dumoulin, he did a lot together with Giant. But now this year with Cervelo and Kragh, I felt that I also grow in the team, and I really can come with a lot of input, and there's so much involvement between riders and sponsors and partners. Yeah.
And of course, things are changing all the time as well. Our approaches to nutrition, approaches to physiology, then even aerodynamics. I mean, we're searching always for these gains, aren't we? And it's becoming even more important when there's so much at stake.
For sure, because everyone, what I feel in the peloton is that every rider is training so structured, so professional from home, so that now you need to, if you want to win races, you need to win it on your bike, at your helmet, your clothing. It's all these things, because everyone is just so trained that there's almost no difference between us. You know, if you just take the body, then so it needs to be all the other things. Yeah.
And even in the short time that you've been a professional, I mean, you're 25 now, there has been, even in the last 3 or 4 years, an immense change just in terms of the technical side of it, our understanding, as you say, of physiology, and the fact that, I was chatting to Sam Bennett about the sprinters earlier on today, that the level is so high, and there's the depth of strength, because everybody has access to the best, generally the best World Tour teams, they all have access to the...
Yeah, they all have the same knowledge, and they all do the same things, because they all, a few years ago, I think Sky was really ahead of people, but now, there are really a lot of World Tour teams at the same level, and that you also saw this year in the Tour de France. It was really equal fine to the last days. So I think it's getting harder and harder to win, if you can say it like that.
And what to you, you're still pretty young, but what to you is the most important component part of being a professional cyclist? Is it physiology? Is it diet? Is it the right technical approach? Or is it the state of mind?
I think your head is super important. Yeah. You need strong legs, you need a big heart and big lungs, but you don't come anywhere without a strong head. I think that's really important.
And that side of things, as we know, because of the increasing investment in teams, alongside that comes an increasing amount of stress on young riders and riders in the spotlight. So you are given the right platform to perform, but with that comes this pressure. You're all paid well, but there's pressure with that. So what is there at Sunweb that helps you cope with that mentally? What support is there? Who do you kind of speak to kind of cope with that?
I'm the kind of rider that I push myself harder than maybe the team wants to push me. So they are there around me, even telling me, son, maybe it's better you ride at 98% than 100. Right. We think you are better with that because you are so hard to yourself that take it easy, and that's what Sunweb does there. Maybe for another guy they need to punk him a lot because he's not training hard enough, but they see the different riders and they really try to do it individually, and that's the way they do it.
And of course things have changed over the last few years, and most World Tour teams, I think there's a couple of teams, all the coaching is in-house as well, because of obviously things like the doping policies of teams. You have a very high standard of you're members of the MCCPP, aren't you? MCPP. But in terms of that side of things, the governance kind of levels and the ideology in the team is exceptionally strong, isn't it?
Yeah, we have strong ideas and values, and especially the anti-doping part for the owner, Ivan. I think that's maybe the most important ideology behind the team. That's what he believes in, and that's what he wants to show, that we can compete at the highest level clean.
Okay, what we're going to do now, hopefully the tech team have lined up the video. We're going to throw to a VT for about a minute long, then we're going to invite a couple more gentlemen onto the stage. So roll VT. go. Very, very nice. Very shiny. I do have an S5 as well. They're very, very nice bikes. Other bikes are available. But without further ado, if we just shuffle backwards, I'd like to invite on the stage to talk about the collaborative approach of the team. Mattias Carlsson, who's the product manager from Kragh, and from Cervelo, Mr. Phil Spearman. So, gents, please come onto the stage. Round of applause, please.
How's it going? Good to see you. Hey,
Phil, Mattias. So, I'm intrigued by all this. I mean, I've had dealings with the team over the last couple of years, and I've been reading up on the team of late, and it is something quite unique. Phil, if we can come to you first. This isn't just press spiel, is it? It really is a team effort trying to maximise potential of the riders, the equipment, and everything from what I can see.
Yeah, the weird thing for being a commercial entity like Cervelo or whomever and working with a Pro Tour team is the value for us, I think, is really what is finding that things happen in a microcosm with a pro team. Like something that we put in the market, for average consumers, for high performance race cyclists, whatever, happens in like a 2-month span with a pro team versus, like maybe 3-4 seasons with the pros. So you mentioned earlier this kind of like skyrocketing development that's happened in terms of performance in the last couple of years. And this is one of the things for us, like from a straight feedback perspective, we always talk about, we give the pros something and they spend it and they want more, right? And so then you kind of have to chase this performance upgrade, because the weird thing about bikes is that this is one of the only industries where we have to sell into the market the same thing the pros get. So whereas something like alpine skiing, for example, the skis the pros ski, you could never turn. The bindings are illegal, all that kind of stuff. But it's incumbent upon us to actually deliver the same thing to the market that we give these guys. So a lot of the little things we can do is like fitting, make sure that, because all our bodies are different and everyone uses a bike differently, and that's not just between men's teams and development teams, but also women's teams, and weight of the rider and the way they ride. But we can do stuff quickly, like fitting opportunities. But then what we do is we sort of take the feedback from the team on ride quality and what their performance needs are, and we can roll that into the next generation. So we're constantly kind of moving forward with that. And at Cervelo, it's cool because our guys are not moving from working on an S5 to then building a hybrid that's aluminum. We're moving to the next S5 or the next P5 or the next carbon project. So that performance just keeps kind of ticking away. And I think it's one of the things that we kind of bring to the team is, that sort of concept of like, oh, we give them a custom layup. It doesn't happen for us. We're small and we don't have that opportunity. Certainly we test stuff with the team where if they say, oh, I want a little bit more stiffness, or believe it or not, a little bit less stiffness, then we can deliver that and test it, and then kind of decide to roll that in later on at if it makes sense.
And obviously, Cervelo, you're looking at performance, you're looking at aerodynamics, but then moving on to the involvement, Mattias, of Kragh, of the clothing manufacturer. How much involvement do you have with the bike, with Cervelo, for example? Do you work apart, or do you actually work collaboratively there, or is that something a little bit different?
No, we haven't worked that much together, but of course we need to adjust the clothing a bit, but it's quite important that we listen to the riders, the needs, and our ideas, of course, and how we can develop things together. Every rider are unique. We have a different fitting for different riders, of course, but we also listen quite well what you want to achieve.
And there's more and more, some of the gains some of the brands have seen in clothing in terms of getting the seams in the right place, using kind of markings that are aerodynamic, are incredible, aren't they? I mean, I did some testing a few years ago with GCN. Yeah. Just between slightly baggy clothing and just a skin suit. It wasn't a specialist skin suit, and like 30 watts or something. It absolutely blew my mind. I thought it was just marketing, but that for you must be, a really interesting area to work in, because everybody now is just finding, it's a cliche, those marginal gains, those aero gains, Everybody's using shoe covers now.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, that must be quite an exciting space to operate within.
Absolutely, and the first thing we did when we got the contact with the team was to test our new, or the time trial suit, and against what the team had before. And they had a special doll, Tom Dumoulin doll, and that was caught with how should it go now. But we were saving 10 watts at the same speed, so that was a good start for us and give us a little bit of a release. And now we start.
And Phil, what's the biggest, most, I don't know, surprising bit of feedback you've had from an individual rider that's actually changed the way you do things? Has that ever kind of happened, or is it more of a drip feed of little bits of information and you see patterns emerging? Or has somebody said to you, no, you need to do this? Or how kind of two-way a process is the feedback from the riders?
It's interesting because, coming to Sunweb, we have, we have women riding S5s, we have women riding R5s, we have the Pro Tour team riding S5s, R5s, R5 disc, R3s, and then we have the development team riding S3 as well. So it's really cool for us because all of our bikes, are being raced on, and so we take risks, and we've kind of come to this thing like we make all these bikes differently. It's not just the same bike with a different tube shape. Because
let's be honest, the S5 it was like a quantum leap.
Correct.
It really was quite a special looking machine, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, pretty polarizing machine, but at this point where we're, I would say between 95 and 2011. We could find aero gains pretty easily. So P5s and S5s and all those bikes were, every time we went back to the tunnel, we could move ahead. But the reality is since 2011, it's getting really expensive to find aero gains. And it took that kind of rethink on what's possible and where we need to kind of deviate from some traditions to find that sort of next level that the S5 gave. And the team stuff is really interesting because, as I say, different riders, different events, different stuff. And when we did the R5 in, whenever it was, 2017 now, we were super excited, super stiff, super light, lots of tire clearance. We gave it to the team for Paris-Roubaix and they couldn't ride it. And it would just skip off the top of the cowbells. Right? So we realized that, hang on a sec, there's this thing happening which is like appropriate stiffness. Like if you're gonna build a bike it's a tool, you gotta give them the right one or it's actually an impediment. So too much of something is not necessarily
Especially when you're using an integral kind of handlebar setup, right. There's not a lot of there's a lot of road noise coming through that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so you got to figure out how to use all those variables, which is everything from handling geometry to layup and how you manufacture the frame to kind of control all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is the kind of stuff from the team that we get back where they go, I can't use this. So then we got to go. Okay, let's try this one out.
That must have been a big headache when you got that feedback.
It's shocking when you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
We sort of travel along with this set of assumptions about how a bike should ride, and then you get forced off that path, and you have to do a complete rethink on what it is that you're offering. The best athletes in the world, and then how to commercialize that. How is it relevant to people who are going into a bike shop and choosing a bike based on how this bike rides or budget or whatever those variables are that affect us all, so you've got to figure out how to reconcile those.
Yeah. And Soren, to bring you back in again, I mean, you talk about the search for gains is becoming more expensive. Yeah. It's becoming more challenging because you're almost reaching like an endpoint because there's only so fast that a rider's going to be able to go. So you look at different ways, like different body positions on the bike. So how much input do you have in terms of this, collaborating, getting the skin suits right, but trying more aggressive and different kind of body positions? With you being a TT specialist, of course, that must be something that you're constantly working on, is where can I find another what? How can I use clothing? How can I use the geometry of the bike to help?
For sure, that's something I think about all the time. Especially with a new bike, a new clothing in the team now in 2019. We have to find the right things and the right material and all this, and we are busy with it still. And I think it takes some time to find the perfect thing when you have so much new material. And I think next year you will see that we are getting much better and we are improving a lot. Yeah.
And what about, how much time would you, as a TT rider especially, although it's important for road riders to get, or how much time will you normally typically spend in a wind tunnel in a year? Is it normally off season, get it dialed, then tweak it the following year? How does that work for you?
For me, I did it so far once every winter with the team.
Okay.
I don't know if it's planned this winter again. I guess so. That's the team that decides all these things. But I think we are going to go in the wind tunnel again, also to test different extensions, and because there's a lot, like you say, with the wind drag from the front, and that's where you can gain super air so much.
Is everything in-house? I'll go to Mattias. Is everything in-house at Sunweb now? I mean, you obviously got your partners that come in, the sponsors. Do you look externally? Because I know that some teams work with academic research, for example, with universities. Is that all in-house, or do you go further out to kind of look for knowledge and look to how to get faster?
yeah, that's not an easy thing to get faster, as you know. So we are looking into institutes that help us with that, and lots of testing. Since we are a brand that's working with different kind of sports, like cross-country skiing, for example, it takes some benefits from the test that we have done together with them, for example. So, but all this we put together, listen to the team, and yeah, I think we are on a good way. The TT suit that I talked about, that's old now. We're looking for a new product that we'll launch soon, and also from fabric suppliers, we're looking into how we can protect your body more if you're crashing. They already have that on the bib shorts, but for the Tour de France for this season, we had more of a protective base layer if you crash, to get less wounds on your body. So we're keeping on going on these kind of things. So it's very, very interesting to learn more from the riders and to support them to achieve our goals together.
So 2 more questions. Phil first, if you don't mind. How much faster do you think a bike can go?
I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, we'd like to keep moving ahead, but you know that we've kind of started to rethink that notion of how do you make a bike go fast. Certainly, it was all quantifiable until a couple of years ago. So it was always like, can it get heavier or lighter? Can it get more aero? Can it get stiffness? But the reality is, when we're at this point now where we're constrained by the UCI boxes, we can only have airfoil lengths of 3:1 in some places, and they relaxed it to 8:1 in some other places. But just sort of pounding out those airfoil shapes does not necessarily guarantee it's a faster bike, because there's just so much, the flow regimes around the rider and the rider position, and it's complicated stuff. But we're kind of like, we're still doing that stuff, but we're looking at making the bike go faster by allowing the rider to go faster. And that's where this idea of like appropriate stiffness and comfort, and how do you take the fatigue off the rider and control the road vibration, and what's tolerable for one rider is not always tolerable for another rider. And this is the stuff where can we get more drag off a bike? Yeah, with some more changes to equipment standards, perhaps. But we've gone through those years where we just forced people into really low positions and said, get used to it. Right? Now it's like the spacers came back to the peloton. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Like in the last 2 years, there was a break in the Giro this year we were watching, and all the guys had spacers. Whereas
everybody's getting higher and narrower now, aren't they?
That's right. So, again, it's kind of a moving target for us at the pointy end of the stick, and it's just about reconciling that with what's available for normal people. Because the truth is, like, they're not normal. No.
What a way to kind of nearly end it. You're not normal. Aims for next year for you, Soren. What's your ambition for next season, for 2020? What's your main goal?
I want to win. That's why I'm riding the bike, and I want to improve, but I really want to win a time trial. I was close a lot of times now.
You had a couple of seconds and thirds this year.
Exactly. Every time it's a new guy beating me, and I'm like, fuck. Sorry. But okay. I would like to win a time trial next year, and I want to perform better in the spring classics.
Good stuff. Well, I'm sure with this team behind you, the rest of the squad clearly full of belief, clearly constantly innovating. I'm sure you'll get what you want. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Soren, Kragh, Anderson, we've got Phil, and we've got Mattias there. Thank you very much indeed, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Cheers, guys.